Thank you for tuning in to the BizNation podcast. My name is Kerry Zarb, and I've been helping business owners just like you go from headache to heaven in a heartbeat for over 20 years. I'll be giving you all the top advice for getting started in your business, but I'll also be speaking with some of the best business minds to inspire you with valuable insights to help you get ahead in your business. If you've ever hit a roadblock or lost your passion, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome back to the BizNation podcast. If this is your first time listening, a huge welcome to you. I'm your host, Kerry Zarb, and in this podcast, we chat to business owners that want to share something with you to help you on your business journey. Today's guest is Conrad Weaver from Conjo Studios, and Conrad is going to share with us over 15 years in marketing, filmmaking, fundraising, and no doubt many other points that Conrad's going to bring to us today. Welcome to the show, Conrad.
Well, Kerry, thanks so much for having me. It's a really pleasure to be on your show.
You're very welcome. I appreciate your time so much and coming on here to share with us your journey and what you've encountered in business and in life. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I look forward to talking about my experiences, and I'm still learning. So, I'm a 15-year entrepreneur, so to speak, but I'm still learning every day. So.
Oh, definitely. I don't think we ever stop learning. That's for sure. And I think if someone got to the point where they said, no, I've nailed it, I've got it, I'm all set and sorted, yet no.
Failure is ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So, Conrad, we'll start with, I'm interested to know what you do today and what's your life? What happens for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I am primarily a documentary filmmaker. I like to produce documentary films. Like I say, that I tell stories that matter. And I look for subjects that are current and are impacting the world. And so I kind of dive deep into those subjects. And currently I'm working on a film called PTSD 911. It's a story about first responders dealing with post-traumatic stress. And so I'm kind of eyeball deep into that project right now. And on the side, my little side hustle is a podcast that I have. It's called the My Story Podcast, kind of a theme here of telling stories. And so I have interesting people on the show that I've met over the years through my filmmaking and through my business connections, and I have them come on and tell their story. And so those are the two primary things I do, besides keep my wife happy. And now I have a granddaughter, which we are just over the moon about. And so we are happy to, have her just 3 hours away, and we get to go see her and spend time with her.
Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations on the granddaughter. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I have a grandson as well, so I'm with you. I understand, and just not far away, so need to make more effort to go and visit. COVID's been a bit of a crappy time,
sure.
and whatever.
Yeah.
So things have been hindered, but that's coming back on the radar real soon. So yay, good times, and it's great that we can spend time with them and spoil them and hand them back.
Yeah, that's the best part, right? You get to hand them back. It's like I was holding her, and it's like, you know what? I think she smells. Here, you can have her.
Yep. Passing it over. Love it.
Yep.
So, Conrad, the filmmaking side of things, I'm curious about. Is this something like, obviously this may be more location based, so you're doing a little bit of travel, getting around for these projects?
Right. Yeah. My first feature documentary that I produced was called The Great American Wheat Harvest. And it was an agriculture film that followed harvesters as they start in Texas and they work their way north across the plains and harvesting wheat. And I spent 3 years working on that film, and a lot of travel, a lot of time in the Midwest and the western states of America, and harvesting, riding in combines and big equipment and hanging out with amazing people. And so I got to tell that story, and it was so much fun. And that really was the launch of my documentary filmmaking career. And following that, I did a story about the drought in the American West, which is once again raising its ugly head. And I know you guys in Australia understand that very well.
Yep.
And so I did a story that we filmed in 2015 that covered the drought in California and other Western states. And again, it took me away from, my home base here in Maryland on the East Coast. And but I love to travel. I love to meet new people, and I love to tell stories, and I love to capture those stories that are compelling. And through my filmmaking, I always say that it's really an honor and a privilege to set up a camera in front of someone and have them tell me their story. And particularly in the last couple of films that I'm working, that I have been working on, my previous film to what I'm working on now was called Heroin's Grip. It's a story about the opioid crisis. And that one was especially compelling in that setting up a camera in front of someone and having them kind of expose the deep, dark secrets of their life is really a big responsibility. And I take it seriously. And I am honored that someone would be willing to do that. And even in the stories that I'm capturing now about first responders who are struggling with post-traumatic stress, I feel a real privilege to be able to share their stories with the world. And I love doing what I'm doing. It's not making me super wealthy, but it's fulfilling, and it's making me happy, making my soul happy. So that's as much wealth as you can get, I believe, and I
Yeah.
enjoy that.
I think that's a really good point, Conrad, because I think as a business owner, we need to look at what fills our cup, and what it's not always about the dollar, it's not
Right.
always about that. It's about life and what we get to, explore and find our passion in. And clearly
Right.
you found your passion in this, which is super exciting. So I have to ask the question, which came first, the filmmaking or the podcast?
The filmmaking came first. And actually, I have been a photographer all my life. I grew up with a camera in my hand. When I went away to college, I worked for the local newspaper, the college newspaper, and ended up becoming the head photographer for the newspaper. I have a degree in psychology. I never thought I would make photography or video production my career. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I kind of fell into this and discovered my new passion. And I haven't looked back. It's been fantastic. So the podcast actually has come out of uh, growing older and realizing that I'm not going to be young forever, and schlepping camera gear across the country is difficult, more difficult as you become older. And so I figured out, what can I do that I could possibly make it have an income and not have to carry gear all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love podcasts. And so I launched the podcast about 2.5 years ago. And I love that as well. So yeah,
Well,
it's a different way of storytelling.
yeah, they kind of go, well, they definitely go hand in hand, because
Absolutely.
the film side is based from the story, and a podcast is exactly what we're doing here in that fashion as well. So great, in unison. That's fantastic. I love it. So
Yeah.
Conrad, storytelling, how can we use this in our business? How can we use this and help ourselves, kind of utilize that skill in business? What do you recommend?
Yeah. That's an important part of any company, is to tell their story, and to tell their story that engages their customer, their client. I think sometimes we get too wrapped up as business owners. We get too wrapped up in us, in me. I want you to know about me, and I'm not inviting you into this story. I'm not, and so I think that's important for a company, yes, to share, what you're about and what you can do, but your story needs to be focused on the hero of the story. The hero is not me. The hero is my client.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can engage them with a story that invites them into that story, then we will be more successful, because they will want to be a part of that. And it's kind of a backwards thing if we think about it. I want to tell my story, my business and the things that I do, but really it's about my clients, and it's about the people that I serve, and the stories. For me, for my company, it's, I tell stories that matter. So, it's all about the people that I'm serving. For example, I have a client that is and besides the documentary work, I do some work for some corporate clients to help them with their story.
Mm-hmm.
I recently finished a project for a nonprofit it's an agriculture group, kind of a think tank. And I was able to work with them to tell the story that mattered to them. And for me, that's just the perfect thing, that I get to walk with them and beside them and to guide them in telling this story so that they succeed at what they do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I love doing about, when I have a client that's paying me to tell their story, I get to walk beside them and help craft that so that what they do shines, and what their customer does creates them to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And when it comes to the storytelling side, to get that out of us and into out to the world,
mhm,
obviously there's many, platforms. We've got our website, we've got social
right.
media, that type of thing. But there's got to be a bit of strategy as to how we kind of put this out there. Like, you don't just, create an about page on your website. It's got to go beyond that. Is that
Sure.
correct?
Sure. It really comes down to who your audience is and how you're going to target that audience. And so if you're creating a video for your company to tell your story, you really need to put some thought into who that story is for and who you're telling it to, because that's what's going to engage the audience. And that will also then determine where that story sits, whether it's out there in the public on YouTube, or whether it's through a private link that you share with clients when you're pitching a client your business. That could be one way of telling that story, or it could be a short snippet that sits on a social site such as YouTube, such as like Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. Those are all platforms, or even TikTok and some of those platforms that you can create short snippets that sit on those. So it really kind of depends on who the video is for and who the story is for, of where it sits. And then, you know, uh, because you can spend a lot of money producing a video for your company. It can be in, as little as $1,000 to tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you're spending any kind of money, you want to be able to make sure that eyeballs see that story and are connecting with it. And so that's why I encourage, the clients that I work with, and, to think about who that audience is and where to best engage that audience so that there's a return for that investment.
Yeah, definitely. You're listening to the BizNation podcast. I would love to connect with you outside of the podcast, and you can find me on Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn by searching my name, Kerry Zarb, or directly on my website at kerryzarb.club. And don't forget, if you need more support in your business, you can find the community on Facebook at BizNation Support Group. Conrad, something else came to mind when you were chatting just then. A lot of us think we're pretty ordinary. A lot of us think that, like it's just me, or, it's just my business, or it's my company, my team, whatever that looks like. And, I don't have anything particular to say. Like, I'm a normal person that's grown up in a normal way, and I've had a normal kind of life into business. So what's a tip for anyone listening to start thinking about how we can extract that into our story? Like, if we just seem like we're boring and, there's nothing to tell, what do you recommend? Where do we start?
I think everyone has a story. We all have experiences, life experiences that have guided us to where we are today. And I think one needs to look at what you're passionate about. What is it that gets you excited in the morning about going to work? What is it that thing that motivates you to go back to work every day and to spend time, hours out of your day working? And what that one thing is that you're passionate about, that's your story. That's your hook. That's the thing that makes you you, and that makes you unique and interesting. And I think those are things that you can work into a story that will be compelling, that your audience will want to hear. I interview tons of different people from my podcast, and these are people that I've met along the way. Some very ordinary, some extraordinary. In fact, just today I had a gentleman on who is a well-known radio and television personality in the agriculture world in here in America, and he has such a distinct voice, and it's just an iconic voice, really. And so it was so much fun having him on. But I've also had people on who no one has ever heard about, but they have a unique aspect to their story, and to be able to pull that out of them is so much fun for me. To hear their story, to kind of pull those little nuggets of wisdom, those nuggets out of them, really makes even the most ordinary of us extraordinary, because I think all of us have a unique story to tell.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. I just kind of I think of so many business owners that I've come across that probably don't share their story, don't tell their story. I think it's a really important aspect. And I think the other side of it is as well that, there's so much options as far as businesses are concerned. So we need to have that unique position that kind of almost, that someone would come across us and create that natural kind of, want to work with you situation. Mm-hmm. And I think the story is the powerful aspect of that. We all need to be human, and we're told by, marketing experts all the time, it's human to human marketing, and it's all about turning up and showing up. But because you've got the video side as well as the podcast side and your, what you do with your clients, I think it's quite fascinating to discuss this with you, because I'm just thinking of all of these pieces and how they come together. And have you seen a particular circumstance, Conrad, where someone's used their story incorrectly?
I'll have to think about that. I think where people make the mistake, and I have to preface this by saying I've learned a lot of the storytelling techniques from a company called StoryBrand. And if you're not familiar with them, look them up. Donald Miller is the president of StoryBrand. I'm a huge fan. I'm kind of way too much of a fan, I guess. I've drank the Kool-Aid. I've done all the things, with StoryBrand. And so, but I've learned so much from Donald Miller and from his team. In fact, I've had his sidekick on the podcast. With JJ Peterson was on my show, and he's really a storytelling expert. So I've learned a lot from them. So I want to preface what I'm going to say with them. But I think where people make a mistake in how they tell their story, that they make it all about them. It's all about me. And I think, who wants to listen to a story that's all about you? I think the story that I want to tell is my client story, is the people that have brought me to where I'm at today. I have amazing friends that have brought me to where I'm at today. And when I'm telling my story, I have to talk about them, because I wouldn't be where I am today without the people that are in my life. And I think all of us can, if we forget that, I think we come across sounding egotistical, or, it's just all about me, me, me. And I think that's probably where the mistake is. And when you're producing a video that is client focused, and you're trying to bring more work or more business into the bottom line of your company, I think it's important for you to really think about how to engage with that client. What are they looking for? How can you solve their problem? And I think that's where the folks at StoryBrand have really taught me to be thinking about the client's problem. What's the problem that you solve? And I think there's where the mistake is made, when you don't show that you solve someone's problem. Because if I don't solve your problem, you're not going to come to me for business. And I think that's the bottom line, is really sharing what problem you can solve, for other people.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Thank you, Conrad, and appreciate that extra tip there, because I think it's a good aspect. Like, I think definitely we all need our story, and
Hmm.
definitely someone like you can help us shape it in the right fashion, and really bring it to life in the right way. But at the same time, we've got to be careful after the fact what we do with it, and
Hmm.
and yeah, definitely how it comes together, but what we do with it as well is super important. So
And I
yeah.
have to say, I'm still learning all of this. I mean, I didn't take a business class in college. I mean, I've got a degree in psychology, right?
Hmm.
Which has helped me, I guess, a little bit in how to deal with people. But, so I'm still learning, and I'm still growing. I've subscribed to several, podcasts. I listen, I read books. I'm a voracious reader. And so I'm always learning. In fact, every night, 30 minutes before I go to sleep, I have a book near my bedstand and I read, and I fill my brain with knowledge, mostly about business, and to help me succeed in business. And so I'm learning
Hmm.
from other people, and so what I have to offer is what I've learned from others, and the experiences that I've had, the failures, the successes I've had, you know, really come from learning from others, and yeah, so I have a long way to go before I become the expert on anything. So.
I think we're all in the same boat there, Conrad, for sure, for sure.
Mm.
I have to ask, what is your most recommended business book that you've either read or you are reading at the
Hmm.
moment?
Well, right now I'm just finishing up again Donald Miller's book. Actually, building it. I don't have it here with me. It's upstairs, but I'll have to think about this. What's the title of it? It's called Business Made Simple. That's what it is.
Hmm.
It's called Business Made Simple. Yeah, he takes you through a 60-day course on building a company, and it's 60 short chapters on all aspects of business, and it's really phenomenal. I've read it once. I'm almost finished with it once. I'm going to read it again, and then with each chapter, each segment, he has a video, and so you
Oh,
you can read the book, you can watch the video, and if you buy the book, you get the video. So it's really a cool program that he has, and so I highly recommend that. I can't recommend that enough. If you're in business and want to learn more and go deeper into understanding how business works, you get that book. It's on Amazon. Business Made Simple by Donald Miller. So,
awesome.
yep.
Thank you. I'll pop
Hmm.
a link in the show notes for that one for anyone tuning in as well. So I appreciate that. And it might be something that I need to check out, to be honest. So
And
I
Donald,
don't.
if you're listening,
Mm,
I just pitched you. So,
yeah, that's it. Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail. So, Conrad, I want to go back in time. How did you get to where you are now?
hmm.
What's been the journey? We won't go back maybe quite to birth, but
Hmm.
the last so many years. What's brought you to where you are now with the filmmaking and the podcast? Like, how did this all transpire?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for asking. So my journey, like I mentioned earlier, I went to college. I was a photographer in college, and even post college, I always carried a camera around and was taking photos. Um, but post college, I started working at a psychiatric hospital. I worked in a mental health capacity at a psychiatric hospital for 3.5 years. Worked with teenagers who were having troubles, and out of that, I was hired or invited to come join a staff at the church I was attending, and so I worked in youth ministry, worked with teenagers there, and that led to a job in developing it with a publishing company. And it was back in the early days of the interwebs. And so I had some experience on building websites for the church. And so a publishing company that focused on youth ministry materials and youth ministry resources hired me to help launch a major website. And so I um, went into publishing and into web editing, and then that led me into an e-commerce position there with that company. And so I did e-commerce. I was their first e-commerce marketing manager, and where I did email campaigns and was able to
Ah,
really grow their online presence in a significant way. But I wasn't really excited about selling books online.
mhm.
And so I looked for other opportunities and ended up being hired again by a church here in Maryland, where they needed someone that did these kind of things, like, website and publishing and things like that. And lo and behold, they were launching a video ministry, I guess. And
Yeah.
they leaned on me to do that. And there's where I discovered what I really love doing and discovered video. And from that, people actually from the church started hiring me to make little videos for their companies. And so I pretty soon had a growing side business, and pretty soon I had 2 full-time jobs. So in 2008, I was working for a church full-time and had a full-time job, side gig going on. And so after many nights of sleepless nights trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I went and resigned from my position at the church and went full-time in the video production world, where I had some amazing clients and still have those clients today. And from that journey, I've had the opportunity to do so many amazing things. I've interviewed senators. I interviewed our former vice president before he was vice president. But anyway, and so I've had the privilege of doing some amazing things. I've worked for some big name people that in the sports world, got to do video work for them. And then in 2010, I started working on my first feature-length documentary, The Great American Wheat Harvest. And that launched my career in documentary filmmaking. And I really found my niche and discovered really what I love doing is telling stories that matter. The corporate work pays the bills and, helps that. But the documentary work really makes my heart sing and brings fulfillment. And it does bring some income, not a huge amount of income, but it does bring income, which I'm grateful for. And but more than that, it really is fulfilling to be able to tell people stories, and sometimes, underserved people, be able to tell their stories and let them shine. And so, yeah, that's what I love doing. That's what I'm doing today is I'm producing documentaries, and I look forward to every film that I make. I look forward to it coming out and excited when people go to see it and or see it on Amazon. All my films are on Amazon. So sorry you can't get them in Australia there anyway.
So is it something that we could expect that, Conrad might be heading towards the National Geographic kind of area of the world, perhaps?
That was always as a young boy with a camera, that was always a dream of mine to be a National Geographic photographer. And recently I actually interviewed an actual National Geographic photographer.
Oh.
He has become a friend of mine. He's also a documentary filmmaker. And he's from Indiana, but now lives in France and with his wife. And he is actually a really accomplished National Geographic photographer. He had a photo. He has one of the most rare times with the Pope. And I apologize for my dog barking. I don't know if you can hear her, but she's upstairs barking. Just okay. So, but anyway, he told me. So I told him the story about me wanting to be a National Geographic photographer, and he says, "You don't know what you're wishing for."
Ooh.
He said it's much more challenging than what you think, and it's very competitive. So, my dream is to have a documentary film that is awarded or even nominated for an Oscar. That would be amazing. And the current film that I'm working on, who knows? It just may fit that category. So I'm hoping to be nominated. I was awarded a regional Emmy Award for one of my films, and that was it's sitting back here on the shelf right there. But that was a lot of fun. It was really a big honor to be recognized for the work that I did. And that was for the Great American Wheat Harvest, and really fun to be awarded for something I didn't expect to get. It was just really, really nice to be recognized for that. So and if I always say that, especially when my films go to theaters, and occasionally they do, I always say that if anyone buys a ticket to see a documentary in a theater, then it makes my heart happy, because that doesn't happen very often. And so I've had the privilege of having some of my films in theaters, and Not with a wide distribution, but small little independent theaters here and there. So that's always fun to do.
Yeah, and my key takeaway, Conrad, is that you just love this space. You just enjoy it, and it's your passion, and probably feels like it's become almost your purpose.
It is, and I really feel that my purpose is really to tell stories that matter, and then to help others tell their story. That's really what the podcast is evolving into, is to give a platform for other people to tell their story as well. So yeah,
amazing stuff. I love it so much, and it's such a good story. The story of the storytelling. I love it.
And I have a long way. I haven't talked about this, but I'm actually working and have been working on a feature film that is not a documentary, but it is an actual movie. Ooh. But it is a true story. So that if people check out my website, they can perhaps learn more about that. So that's in the works. Yeah.
Definitely. Conrad, I want to move into something else. I've got a little magical tin here.
Uh-oh.
And it has...
The mystery questions.
The mystery questions. I'm going to choose 5 random questions. I've got 1, 2, 3... all different shapes and sizes. That's 5. And the purpose of this is 5 fun facts about Conrad. Maybe not fun, maybe just more get to know you. All right, let's see what we've got here. The first question is, this is a good one. I think you're going to have fun with this. If you had unlimited funds, what would you want your business space to look like?
Wow. Yeah. So I can't talk about this a whole lot, but I'm actually building a new company.
Oh my God. You heard it first here. There you go.
You heard it first right here. So I can't talk about it, but that's coming. So
something exciting is cooking.
Something exciting in the works. So be ready.
Love it.
Yeah.
Be ready. And we might have to get you back on in a later episode, and then we can talk about it.
Absolutely.
There's the idea. Love it. All right, next question is, if you had a time machine, would you go into the future or back to the past?
I think going into the future might mess up the present. So I would go to the past. And I don't know what time period I would go back to, but I think it would definitely be in the past. I've always been fascinated with the American Revolutionary War period, and just to be there with the Patriots, they're, battling the crown and all that stuff. So, I'd probably go back to that time period just to kind of meet some of those people that were our founding fathers here in America.
Yeah. I always kind of think of that question like, I just want to be like the fly on the wall. I don't know if I'd necessarily want to participate.
Right. Exactly. I just want to observe, be the invisible observer.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Good answer. When you were young, what did you want to be when you grew up, and how does that marry with what you do today?
Well, there's 2 things I wanted to be when I was young. The first, I remember when I was 9 years old, I wanted to be a pilot. I had dreams of flying airplanes. And I think the first time I actually got to take the controls of an airplane, I was 15 years old. A friend of ours took us up for a little ride, and he said, Conrad, take the controls. And it was so much fun. And I still don't have a pilot's license, but then in my later teenage years and moving toward college, I had hopes and dreams of being a medical doctor. And that's actually why I went to college. I was the very first one in my family to go off to school, off to higher education. But I had a very poor math and science background in high school. And so I was making C's in chemistry. And so hence the psychology degree. So, but yeah, I had dreams of becoming a renowned surgeon. And now I'm just becoming a renowned documentary filmmaker. So
in the surgical fashion of film. That's it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yep, you made it. And I tell you what, I think it'll be a lot less stressful. Like
I would have to agree with you on that for sure. Yeah.
I think you chose the right path.
I know I did.
Yeah, exactly. Next question is, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? These are
That's a
great
good
questions.
question. And for someone who lives in Australia, I hope I don't offend you, but
Never.
I would love to live in New Zealand.
Oh,
I've been to New Zealand. I've been only to the North Island, just to want to clarify that. But my time there was amazing. It was an amazing place, beautiful landscapes, sheep as far as the eye could see, and just amazing people. And of course, I love Australia as well. I love Australians, but New Zealand was pretty special.
Yeah. I think I would agree with that because for me, it's not that far. I should have been there by now. I'm not a traveller, by the way, just not a traveller. Like I barely explore my local, let alone, going anywhere else in the world. So, but I've seen plenty of photos and I did at one point go, Canada or New Zealand? I think New Zealand's got the edge. I think it's...
There's less snow in New Zealand. At least Canada gets quite cold. I know New Zealand does get cold as well, but in the mountains have snow. But I would pick New Zealand. In fact, I had a friend who his son went to college. Went to law school in Auckland, and they went down to visit. And he said, I came this close to calling my real estate broker and selling my house back home and say, we're staying.
Wow.
But he didn't. He came back. So.
Yeah. Very tempting. So close. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Conrad, this is the last question. Are you a morning marvel or a night owl? So do you bounce out of bed in the morning or do you press snooze a couple of times? Are there late nights from the video production side of things?
That's a great question. And I have a two-part answer. One, I love the mornings and I do get up roughly around 6 o'clock and walk my dog and get my coffee. But I'm kind of a slow grow in the morning. So it just kind of, my morning starts off slow and just builds and builds. But my most productive time when I want to really get things done, it's in the evening.
Yep.
And when I'm working on projects and I have a deadline and I really want to focus in on getting a video edited or a project finished, then I work in the evenings and, work until midnight. That's really when I find that my productivity is the best. I do, really work hard these days at getting plenty of sleep. And that's been a real priority of mine, is to really focus on that. And so I try to get to bed by 10 p.m. every night and then up by 6. But I think I love mornings because I love that morning coffee and just the time to read the news and to spend some quiet time and kind of still my mind. But then if I really want to be productive, it's late at night.
Oh, such a torn existence between
exactly.
the two. Like, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Conrad, thank you for that. That was amazing and really good questions. That was just, that was very random, but very, very awesome. So happy with that. And thanks for playing. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So, now, Conrad, before we wrap up the show, where can we find you?
Well, if you just Google my name, Conrad Weaver, it'll pop up, generally the first page on Google. And but my website is Conjo Studios, ConjoStudios.com. That's where you can find most of my films and the work I've done. And I'm also on social media, Conrad Weaver on Twitter. Actually, Conjo Studios on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all the social sites. Conrad Weaver on Instagram. So, and all of my movies, all of my films have their own social sites. So for better or for worse, I'm still deciding if that's a good idea or not. But they all do have their own social. But it makes it busy for me to try to keep up with all those accounts. So I have 7 Instagram accounts, and it's crazy. Yeah.
I struggle with 3. I don't know how you do that. That sounds like a lot of hard work. So
Yeah.
hats off for that one.
It is a lot of hard work, and I don't have any minions to help me. So
Minions. We all need minions. That's
we do,
for sure.
don't we?
Oh dear. Conrad, I'm going to pop all of those links into the show notes, of course, for everyone so that they can check it out. And I'm going to head over to all those channels myself, because I know we're connected on many levels, but it sounds like I've missed a few tricks here. So I want to get on board and certainly, make sure that I'm sussing out what you've accomplished, because it sounds amazing and it sounds so fulfilling what you've done. And thank you for being on the show, by the way. It's just been an awesome chat, and a really good way. We know each other from Clubhouse, but being able to get to know each other on this level has been really, really nice. So thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. We will chat really soon.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in to the BizNation podcast. It was lovely to share this episode with you. Remember to subscribe to catch all future episodes, and I would also very much love it if you'd leave me a rating or a review. Until next time, remember that you can also go from headache to heaven in a heartbeat.